talk about Todd Monken's staff here, guys. He is continuing to assemble his offensive staff. A lot more of the offensive guys have been filled. Defense, we're still kind of figuring out what's going to happen with Jim Schwartz and the assistants. But so far, Todd Monken has hired 5 offensive assistants from his days in Baltimore. He hired George Warhop to be the offensive line coach, Travis Switzer, the offensive coordinator, Danny Bryers, the passing game coordinator, Daniel Stern is the assistant head coach, Ian Colstay is an offensive analyst. He has hired 2 coaches that are not from Baltimore as well, but he's brought over 5 assistants to his offensive staff that he worked with in Baltimore. Tyvis, when you look at a coach assembling a new staff for the first time, do you like the philosophy of bringing guys you've worked with in the past and have that familiarity with, or would you rather see Monken go out and kind of vary his offensive ideas with coaches he may have worked with in the past but don't come from the exact same system?
I think that, one, you go from you probably go immediately from guys that you work with because of the fact that you're coming from a place that has some success. I know that they missed the playoffs last year, blah, blah, blah. But in years past, they have been a successful organization. You work with these guys for over 3 years, 3 seasons, so you know exactly what you're getting from them. You've probably worked with them and seen them work with different type of athletes. So you know when you look at Cleveland's roster, you need those type of guys. So I love the fact that he brought guys that he trusted over. And then as you go through the rest of the roster, you start filling out with guys that you've worked with in other stops and other destinations and stuff like that. I think he's doing it the exact same way that any coach or any new head coach would do it. You always take from where you were last, maybe some of them assistant guys, you promote them up and give them an opportunity. And then after that, you fill out your roster the other way. But the only thing people care about is the defensive coordinator situation, which is what it is.
Yeah, what do you make of it? I mean, anything of interest in the
offensive
coach hires?
Every coach is going to hire people they're comfortable with, that they have a history with.
Yeah.
And Todd's been around. And the fortunate part of this with some of these guys coming over from Baltimore is that Baltimore rebuilt its entire staff, because this is kind of late in the game to be trying to put staffs together. And a lot of guys are already in positions. So it's hard to get some guys out of contracts unless you're giving them promotions, and you can't give promotions for all these jobs,
Right.
So the fact that a lot of these guys are available helps. I was talking to one NFL coach during the process who felt like Schwartz, the longer it went, the better it was. I mean, nobody thought it was going to be Todd, right? Can we admit that? Nobody thought Monken was going to be. So the guy I was talking to thought it would be, the longer it went, it was more and more likely that Jim was going to get the job, because you keep the defensive side in place.
Right.
And you don't have to build that side of the ball up. And Jim has enough connections that he can pull a staff together relatively quickly on the offensive side. Well, the same sort of applies to Todd.
Yeah.
Whereas a guy like Shieldhouse may have struggled to build.
Right. Although Todd's got to build the offense and maybe the defense as well.
Well, I don't think they'll have to, if anything, it's just going to be the coordinator. I think they're going to keep most of they'll keep a lot of those guys in place.
Right.
Like, they're really happy with that.
Maybe they'll promote one of them to DC.
They could
probably the linebacker coach.
They could promote one to DC. I do think that they'll have a couple outside guys that they would look at.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not at that point yet. Let's wait and see what happens. I wrote today, I think they should let Jim go.
Yeah.
Like, do the right thing.
Yeah.
And don't hold him. It's an awkward position that they're in, only because, like, you put these guys head to head to interview for the job.
Right. It's not good for the team at this point.
I just think there's too much of a risk of a power struggle down the road. Jim's made it clear he's not happy. Just let him go.
I don't know how many DC jobs are open. I'm sure somebody would love. Oh, none at this point.
Not right now.
Well, Philly, what's his name, didn't retire.
Vic Fangio.
Not yet. But
they said he's coming back. I think I read it this morning.
Because then that was a late change of heart. Because the talk around there was he was definitely going to retire.
But I think this morning he said he was going to come back.
So Jim's made plenty of money in his life. Either he retires, or if you let him out of the contract, then he can go be a consultant like he was here for a year.
The Cardinals and Raiders hired DCs already?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Raiders. I know the Cardinals did.
I'm not sure if the Raiders have. The Cardinals have, yes. I'm not sure if the Raiders have yet, because they still haven't technically named Kubiak as the head coach, obviously. That's coming.
You can't do
right, that's true.
Yeah. So I guess that maybe that
I'm sure the Raiders would love to have him.
I mean, would he want to go there?
I mean, they're a disaster.
They're going to be without
from one day ago.
Their defense already stunk.
For whatever it's worth, from one day ago, I just searched Jim Schwartz. I searched Raiders defensive coordinator. The first 5 articles that popped up were Jim Schwartz could be leading candidate for Raiders defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, they'd probably pay him a ton of money to go there.
Absolutely.
I mean, if the Browns let him out of the contract.
Right.
I mean, his recourse, if they won't let him out of the contract, is, okay, then I retire.
Right.
What are you going to do?
But again, I think, couldn't they name him assistant head coach / DC?
Who? The Raiders?
Schwartz. Yeah, couldn't they do that? And if you make him assistant head coach, don't they have to let you out? If it's a promotion?
Unless the Browns make him the assistant head coach.
I guess they could, yeah.
Well, we'll save the Jim Schwartz up for a
Yeah,
second.
okay,
Well, what
go
do you
ahead.
think of the offense? I mean, I know you don't know a lot of the guys,
listen,
but
the only guy I've heard of the 7 guys they've hired on the offensive staff is George Warhop, because he was here with Joe Thomas when I first moved to Cleveland. He was their O-line coach, so I remember that. The rest of the guys I never heard of before. I know these other guys with Baltimore, I think, are all really young guys besides Warhop. I don't know about the 2 other guys that are not Ravens guys. I'm guessing they're fairly young too, but I could be wrong.
Who's the wide receivers coach?
they have not hired a receiver.
They haven't hired a wide receivers coach. They haven't hired a
That's Deuce Staley
running
still?
back coach.
Well, I think they've kept all those guys under contract for right now.
Okay.
Well, no,
Chad
Chad
O'Shea's
O'Shea's
gone.
gone.
Well, Chad's
Well,
gone.
he stunk anyway.
But the guys, the
Where'd
other
he
guys,
go to the Chiefs, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, he's Chiefs
Chiefs?
receivers.
the guys who were on staff.
Yeah, so Deuce Staley could be back as the running backs coach.
If I'm guessing on
Yeah.
this, they've told those guys if you have opportunities, pursue
Sure,
them. That's why
yeah.
you've seen O'Shea leave. That's why
Yeah.
you saw Tommy go with Kevin.
Right.
But the rest, I think that they're waiting around to see. Todd will probably clean out the room, I would think.
Not even keep Deuce Staley.
I mean, maybe Deuce.
Yeah.
Maybe you keep 1 or 2 guys.
Right.
I don't think they'll keep very many.
yeah,
from that staff.
no. I mean, the only thing left is running back
Yeah, receiver.
and wide receiver coach.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously assistant position coaches, but who cares about that?
Deuce
I think
would
it's
be
fine.
the-
You want to have guys. A head coach needs to have guys around him that are his guys.
You think guys that he trusts.
And it's not everybody. You got 2 guys from other organizations, and my guess is the wide receiver coach and the running backs coach will either be guys that were here. Well, no, just running back would be the only guy that can stay.
Yeah.
Or maybe whoever the assistant wide receiver coach, whatever. Or it'll be guys from outside the organization. So it seems like a good mix. I like that he's taken a lot of young guys here, maybe some up and comers. I like that he took that guy who's like the analytics coach that gets in the
Daniel Stern.
headset and advises you on going for things and whatever. It's fine. I mean, I'm not going to get worked up one way or the other about that.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend to know a lot. Steve, you want to take this again?
Yeah.
I've heard of Warhop before just because.
He's the only one.
I've heard good things about him.
Yeah,
He's
I
got a
have
very
too.
good reputation.
Yeah.
The other guys, I only know because they've been tweeted out as the Browns have hired this guy. I was thinking when, and Jason, I'm curious if when the Athletic
What
launched
does
it. I know
PCG mean?
Pass game coordinator.
Shouldn't that be PCC?
No, it should be PGC.
Pass. No, do I have it
Oh,
back?
PGC,
Oh,
right?
I'll
yeah.
fix that. I'll fix that. My bad.
Yeah. I was confused there for a second.
No. Passing coordinator game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my bad. Steve, drop it. But my point is, Jason, I'm curious when the Athletic launch. When you take on a venture like taking over an NFL team, like he's doing right now, Todd Monken, his first time as a head coach, has never put together his own staff top to bottom where he had full autonomy and authority over it. And knowing the fact that, happy birthday, Coach Monken, he turned 60 today, I feel like it would be smart of him to operate the way he's going, where he's pairing some guys he's worked with in the past of all ages to get different perspectives on where they've worked, coming together to try and put a staff that can relate as much as possible to a new team where they don't necessarily have the built-in previous relationships with. You have some younger guys, you have some older guys, you have some offensive guys. You may be keeping a bunch of your defensive guys because that's at least what they indicated in the introductory press conference, that whether Schwartz comes back or not, they hope to keep a lot of defensive assistants in place. So I'd like that philosophy. And when you guys launched The Athletic, I imagine all the first hires weren't exactly cut from the same kind of cookie, right? Like they all had different backgrounds to kind of launch The Athletic at once. Or maybe I'm way wrong.
No, you're right. I mean, when we
Very
did
different business, though.
a very different business. And I'm sure Todd's been building his staff in his mind for 10 years or more, maybe 30 years. If I ever get a head coaching job, I want this person with me. I want that person with me. When we built The Athletic, it was like I'd never been in that position in my life. I went to the people I trusted most and that I knew were really good. I'm sure he did the same thing, that hire really smart people and they'll figure it out. And he's the benefit to him. It's sort of what I was mentioning with Jim, is he's got a wealth of connections and a ton of relationships. He knows a ton of people. So and the people that you don't know, you go off recommendation
Yeah.
of people that you trust.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how you get. I don't want to keep comparing the Browns to the Athletic because I don't think it's a. But that's exactly how I got. Like Ari Wasserman was the Ohio State writer, and I didn't have a great relationship with him. I didn't really know him, but I talked to Windhurst, and Brian's like, "That's the guy you want."
Yeah.
And I called Ari and said, "Come on," and he came on, and it was a fantastic hire. So if you don't know the people, then you talk to the people who you do trust.
Right.
And
because you're not going to know somebody for every spot. Might not be perfect.
Right.
I was looking at upcoming free agents that for Ravens because I'm like,
Tyler Lindenbaum.
you wonder if he's going to like grab somebody, a guy or two.
Yeah.
Here's some possibility. Here's offensive players that are going to be free agents.
Tyler Lindenbaum.
DeAndre Hopkins. I would say he's probably not going to be here.
I would agree with that.
Tyler Lindenbaum, as you said.
They say he's going to the Giants.
Patrick Ricard. I could see him ending up here.
A fullback.
The fullback. Because he obviously likes to use a fullback. Tylan Wallace, who's like a fifth receiver type. Joseph Notaboom, left tackle, 30 years old. Tyler Huntley and Isaiah Likely. Those are the.
I mean, likely I think is
in play.
There's
I
a
just
pretty
don't.
good chance.
I don't know what he's going to cost. I don't think the Browns should spend any significant money at tight end, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, Andrew said the other day they're not going to be chasing a lot in free agency. Like they're not. They're not looking for a couple guys to put them over the top. And to your point on Lindenbaum, you got to remember you're going up against Harbaugh for a lot of these free agents too, because John's probably going to want to bring players that he had last year in Baltimore with him. And if you're a free agent, I mean, the money talks.
Yeah, absolutely.
You go where the money is.
Right.
But if you have your choice right now between the Browns and the Giants, where are you going to go?
Yeah.
You're probably going to go with the Giants.
Giants.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
the cap is going way up again. I mean, that benefits every team equally, but
no, but it benefits teams like the Browns
who are willing to spend.
Who should move on from their quarterback, Deshaun.
Right.
He should have been cut a year ago. And like
I don't know why they just don't. They're going to stink anyway. Why not just take the hit this year? I don't understand
just
it.
in case insurance.
I don't have an explanation.
It
for
doesn't, especially because the cap's going up big time this year. One of the biggest jumps ever.
So it doesn't really give you a competitive advantage because it goes up for everybody.
Right.
But it does give you an advantage in a situation like that.
I think it also gives you. It gives the Browns an advantage.
I'm saying cut him. He could be the week one starter.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like, honestly.
But Jason, you know what?
Or he's a veteran.
I do think it gives the Browns a competitive advantage because not every team is willing to spend up to the cap.
Well, not only up to the cap, they go over the cap constantly by restructuring all these deals.
Whereas there's teams that are unwilling to do that, so it does give them an advantage.
A little bit, but if you give everybody $500, is anybody really? You see what I'm saying?
Right, but
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
not everyone. Some may pocket 100 of that.
Yeah, they may be more likely to spend
$250
than another team would be if they're close to the cap.
Yeah.
So